Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. I got another one where I'm going to try to be a quick like a bunny and not talk forever, but I do have a fun announcement. So if you guys follow my social media or you were around this weekend, you know that I finally launched a Patreon. And wow, it's only been 2 days. This is the first video I'm filming since it went live. And everyone's support has been so overwhelming and amazing. And if you are one of the people who signed up for Patreon, you should now see your name in the end credits. There is slides for my channel members and there are slides for my Patreon. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon, I do have now exclusive content on Patreon. I will be doing weekly vlogs, and once a month there will be a book that gets chosen that I will do an exclusive review where I talk in depth about the book just for my channel members. So not channel members, I apologize, that's going to be confusing, my patrons. Channel members will still always get early access to things here, but there will be some stuff that is now behind a paywall because I'm looking to make this gig full-time, and that means that I have to be a little exclusive with certain things to help that happen. But don't you worry, if you're not interested in signing up for those things, I completely understand. Just by watching this video and liking it, subscribing to my channel for me, you'll get weekly recommendations, weekly wrap-ups, all that fun stuff will all still be here for you, and just by liking my video, you're helping me out. So, you know, there's that. And I mean, if you don't like me, then I'm not sure why you showed up to this. But today we're going to be doing Possessive Heroes. Now, this is one of my favorite things to read. Like, honestly, I love a possessive man. I love in every subgenre of romance. I love it. It's there for me. So I actually made one of these not too long ago, and I will link that up there. I actually did it back in January. It wasn't that long ago, but I had people asking for more recommendations for this, and I was like, you know what? I read a ton of books that have this, so it's not too hard to share. So I have 9 more to share with you, and we're going to go ahead and go through those as quick as we can, because these are a lot of books that I have talked about multiple times. So we'll be able to move through it here. So first I have Lifeblood by Monroe, and I don't have my copy of it yet, but also Hydrus, which is the next book in this series, would also fit into this. But these are fated mate between these witches, and in this one it's a witch and a warlock. In the second one it's a witch and a fae prince or fae king. But this is about a witch with a healing gift and a warlock who is like bred for violence, and she gets taken by this warlock and she's supposed to be tortured for information, and he discovers that she's his mate. Now, he doesn't immediately let her go when that happens. He thinks he'll be able to still, you know, have his sexy time and also torture the information out of her that he needs. But he quickly finds that that's not how things are working out for him. He quickly finds that he is very much infatuated with his little mate, and this book is intense and sexy, and there are a lot of trigger warnings for this one, BTW, you know, including like blood play, dubious consent, torture. There's a lot of things in this one, so make sure you check it out. I'm pretty sure the author has a pretty good, extensive list of that. There's a nice loud truck going by. That was fun. So yeah, keep that in mind. Oh, look at the pretty art. So anyway, love this one. Then I actually have quite a few fated mates in this list because they're usually very possessive ones. I have Bite Marks by Jenn. This is actually I have a signed copy for her. I got to read an arc of this one. This is actually part of her Lichen series, even though this one is about a vampire. The other 4 before this one are all Lichens. And I honestly recommend all of the books in the series for this, because what's super hot about this series is that the heroes only are sexually attracted to their mates. So sometimes you have these hundreds of year old immortals who are virgins still while they wait for their mate to appear. And this one, our hero's name is Adrian. He's this really brutal leader of the American vampire clan. And then he comes across Kayla in a club. Like, she's in a club and he knows that it's her. And so first he does a little bit of stalking to get the lay of the land for what's going on, and then he pounces on his woman. So yeah, this one also has like, this has like size difference, as in he's got a really big dick. Jenica Snow likes to do that a lot. And yeah, it was just extremely sexy. Again, lots of trigger warnings in this one. She does a whole like list at the beginning of hers as well, because that's what Jenica likes to warn you about, that real good. But very sexy, very dark, very possessive hero. Then we have Monroe by Kresley Cole. I just always want to talk about Kresley Cole's books, and her heroes, pick one, they all have this going on for them, okay? Like from the very first to the beginning, because again, it's fated mate, but I particularly think the Like in this series are some of the most possessive in my opinion. And we have Monroe, who is one of the twins between Hot and Hotter, and his brother McGreeve had a book earlier in the series, and Monroe, he finds his mate the day that she dies. And then he needs to find a way to save her from that death. And so this book involves some time travel going on. And this involves his fated mate is actually a like lore hunter. So she hunts creatures of the lore. And so that is a uphill battle for them to climb. But when this man gets his hands on his lady, it's fantastic. I just love how Kresley Cole writes her heroes. They're so growly and mine, and I just love it. I love it so much. Then, change it up a little bit, I have Soul Eater by Lily Mayne. So this hero, his possessiveness is a little bit different than everyone else's, particularly because it really is a slow build. This series, Monstrous by Lily Mayne, I have loved it. And there's actually a lot of cinnamon rolls in this series, but the monsters are all very possessive over their little humans, okay? These are all gay romances as well. And they are monsters with some interesting body parts. As in like Wynn, our Soul Eater character here, he is infinite age, like he's very, very old, and he has come to Earth through these rifts that have appeared 20 years ago. These like rifts appeared where monsters are able to come through, and every so many years, when the Soul Eater appears and seemingly slaughters a indiscriminate amount of humans. There is obviously more to this tale than we know, but he meets Danny, who was kind of like pressed into the military, kind of, and he ends up in a situation in the beginning where the military uses him as bait to try to capture Wynn, and Wynn ends up destroying the entire facility and asking Danny to travel with him because it won't be safe for him to stay at this facility. And so this becomes like a road trip romance as they slowly become more and more attracted to each other. And Wynn has horns and he wears a hood all the time. He has pale white skin except for his hands, which have black fingers. And again, he has some magical things in his pants. That's all that I will say about that. But particularly, we see Wynn's possessiveness, you know, in the second half of this novel, like when there are threats against Danny. And then actually throughout the series, Wynn and Danny show up, and every time, like, Wynn is ready to just, like, cause chaos for his man, and Danny's always kind of like, I'm sorry, he's just a little possessive. It's really cute, and I love it. And then I want to share Between Wrath and Mercy by Jess Wisecup. This is just going to come up in a lot of videos that I do, okay? It just is. This was a debut adult fantasy romance from this author, and this one is actually like a second chance romance. Our heroine, she has a daughter who gets kidnapped, and she goes to the only man that she knows can help her get her daughter back, and that is her childhood love, who is a prince of the land. And she must go back to him and ask him to help her. And it is a very slow burn in this to getting these two to be together. She is actually married at the beginning of this book to someone. He's not the best person, but she's married to this person at the beginning. And so there's a very slow burn between them. This is a pretty thick one. But once, you know, their history and parts of their past start to come out, and we learn like what separated them and how we ended up here. It's so good. And like this hero, he's held in his feelings for so long for this woman that he loves so much, and things went so wrong between them when they were young. But when they finally get the chance to be together again, he's so protective and possessive over their connection, and he's not willing to let anything get between them. So there's very good communication between the two of them in this book, and it just makes my heart very, very happy. So then I also want to mention Even If It Hurts by Sam Mariano. This currently is in the bind up, the anthology that is called Filthy Elites, but it is a full-size book within this anthology, and it will be printed separately and be like the prequel to Sam Mariano's Coastal Elite series. This is a high school romance. It's hard to describe this without like spoiling anything. If you've read any of Sam Mariano's other books and you liked them, you'll probably like this. If you didn't like them, this probably isn't going to be for you. This book actually, it's kind of sort of a bully romance, but the bully isn't necessarily the hero. This is hard to explain, but this book starts with a bet where the hero's current girlfriend bets him to make this other girl at school fall in love with him, sleep with her, and then dump her, because the woman he's with is a psychopath and he also is a psychopath, and they think it will be a fun game. However, this hero is playing a game of his own. And he very quickly becomes very possessive over this heroine. She's his. No one else look at her. No other friends even. That's kind of where I'm coming at for this possessive side. Like, this is definitely one of the more unhealthy versions of a possessive hero, because he doesn't want her to have any friends that he doesn't approve of. And yeah, does that sound like an abusive relationship? Almost, kinda. But that's how Sam Mariano works. This is a very twisted story. It was very sexy. It was intense. There are trigger warnings in this one that are bonkers. Like, there's somnophilia in this. If you don't know what that is sex with someone who is sleeping. There's drugging in this. There is sexual assault. There is a lot. There's a lot in this one. But it's Sam Mariano and it's bonkers. So there you go. Then I actually have another Jenica Snow, and that is Corruption, which I actually just read. This book comes out on May 11th, I believe. It comes out very soon. I just read the arc and I wanted to bring it up. This is a mafia romance. This is a childhood friends to lovers, and our heroine and hero, they're both children in the mafia. He's the son of one of her father's made men, and when it becomes clear that this boy, when he's like 13, that he's too close with the heroine, her father makes it so he's gone, and she just thinks that he left without saying goodbye. And then 10 years later, her father is trying to arrange a marriage for her, and the hero reemerges and is like, no one's gonna have this woman except for me. He is now a much more hardened killer than he was as a child, obviously, and what he's been turned into is the pretty scary thing. And he wants revenge against the people who separated him from his best friend. And he's also, oh yeah, been stalking the heroine for the last couple years, waiting for the best time to take her. So that's a thing. Then there is Mafia Darling by Mila Finelli. This is actually book 2 in the Kings of Italy, and the first one is Mafia Mistress. Now, Mafia Mistress, you do have to read it. This is a book about the same couple, but I am specifically talking about the possessiveness of the hero in book 2. This is a son's fiance situation. The heroine is 18 and she's engaged to the hero's son by a mafia arrangement, and she is forced to go live with the family in Italy and is supposed to be getting to know her intended and is supposed to marry him soon, only she doesn't want to, and she's trying to do everything she can to get away. And so the father, he's the one who demanded this marriage happen because her father owed him a favor, or owed him a debt, and he becomes extremely attracted to her and decides that instead of making his son marry her, he is going to take her as his mistress. And then when he's done with her, maybe she can go back to her life. Maybe. The first book will make you want to punch someone, but the second book honestly made me cry and inspired me. I thought it was one of the better mafia books I've read this year, and I highly recommend. So yes, I'm recommending Mafia Darling. Yes, you have to read Mafia Mistress first, because you just have to. There's a cliffhanger in the first one. They are one story, but I loved it. It was bonkers and crazy, and it made me happy, and I loved it. And yeah, those are all the books that I had to recommend for this one. I hope you love Possessive Heroes as much as me, and you'll give some of these a try. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Make sure you've given this video a thumbs up. I mean, if you made it all the way through, you had to like it a little bit. And yeah, maybe check out my Patreon if you're interested. And I'll see you next time. Bye.